Greetings again, everyone. It's good to see you again. As we continue, this subject is extremely important because people, while they think they believe the right things, they still struggle with righteousness, they still struggle between the works and salvation by faith. They say we are saved by grace through faith. Nevertheless, people try to do something good, at least that they feel good about it. In fact, many times people don't feel good to pray or to go before God or to serve in the church because they did something wrong. And what we do good doesn't recommend us to God. While we should desire to do good, we should aim, we should try to do good, our good deeds don't recommend us, don't give us any merit. Not to serve, not to pray, not for forgiveness, not for salvation, for nothing, not for heaven. And so we will talk about that. We will hopefully clarify it today. Before we start, let's pray together. Father, again, in humility, we thank you for your infinite love. We thank you for so many blessings that many times we don't understand. And we pray that you will be the one to speak right now. You will be the one to open our eyes. You will be the one to transform. And may we see you, may we know you, may we sense your presence and be transformed, and may it be for your glory. Father, we pray in Jesus' name and thank you. Amen. Well, we said last time that we are sinners. All of us fall short of the glory of God. All of us, all have sinned. There is none righteous, not even one, none righteous. And all, when we compare ourselves to one another, we feel justified. We feel a little better. We know we are not perfect. But when I look to that sinner who was in prison for this and that, I am not like him. When we look to others, we feel proud and justified. When we look to self, many times we feel discouraged and depressed. When we look to the challenges, we get discouraged. But our call is to look to Christ. We are not called to look to people. We are not called to look to self. We are not called to look to the challenges. We are called to fix our eyes on God. The more we understand His love, the more we understand His grace, the deeper we understand the cross, the more transformed we are, the more filled with His love. And only those that understand God's righteousness understand properly their sinfulness, the way they really are. We don't have a right conception of our character and our heart. Even if we think that we are sinners, we don't understand where we are. We don't know exactly what we can do, what we cannot do. Some people think they can do anything, some people think they can do nothing. We don't understand. Only when we look to Christ, compared to Him, we understand our state. We understand how much He has done for us. We understand, more than that, how much we need Him. And when we compare ourselves with God, then we don't judge others. And the more we understand God's forgiveness and grace and mercy and love, the more we are overwhelmed. We are totally profoundly impacted by His unbelievable love. I mean, think about it. You sin, you go to prayer, you ask forgiveness, and then you do it again. And then you pray again and ask, and He forgives you again, and then you do it again. As many times as you go back to Him with honesty and humility, He forgives you again. That doesn't mean that you should sin again. But in His grace, He forgives you again and again. That's beyond human understanding. And then He is using you though you don't deserve it. I mean, think about it. He put David back to be a king. And then He's saving you, even giving you eternity. And Paul is calling the people from Corinth saints. And you read the book of Corinthians are not saints. Nevertheless, God looks to you and He sees Jesus. And when you understand that love, you are overwhelmed. And the more you look at it, the more you are filled with it, the more you are filled with that love. The easier, when you see God's love and how much He loves you, the easier is to give love and compassion to others. And so, we read this paragraph. You are a sinner. You cannot atone for your past sins. You cannot change your heart. You cannot make yourself holy. But God promised to do this. through Christ. You must believe. If you believe, God will supply the facts. Do not wait to feel it, but say, I believe. Not because I feel it, not because I deserve it, not because I can do it, but because God promised. And as we ask for these blessings, we need to believe and thank God that we have already received them. It is by faith. Not that faith gives us any merits, but that faith allows God to work. And so saying that, we know that we are all sinners. We know that we cannot earn salvation. We know that we cannot change our heart. We know that God's righteousness, perfection, holiness is beyond our comprehension. We know that God's grace and mercy and compassion and love is beyond our human comprehension, and never, ever, ever we will fully understand God. We will learn for eternity more and more, and we will be always in awe when we think about the depth of His love. We know that we are all saved by grace through faith. We know that His love and presence in our heart is absolutely vital. Then, if we understand these things, if we understand salvation is in no one else except in Jesus, and we must have Jesus to be saved. You have Jesus, you are saved. You don't have Jesus, you are lost. We know those things. Then how do you get saved? Let me explain a little. Let's suppose, what is the role for works? Where do works come into the picture? Because some people say, oh, just love Jesus and you can do whatever. That's wrong, because Jesus says, if you really love me, you obey my commandments. When you really love God, to obey is not a chore, it's a privilege. David says, your law is my delight. You see, I love my wife, and because I love her so much, I'm not going to sit in the bed and watch the news or play a game on my computer while she's washing the dishes. If she came from work tired, and I came from work tired, it's not fair for me to sit down and then she would keep working even at home. I go in the kitchen, we wash the dishes together, and then we take a walk together, and then we rest together, because I love her. In fact, I say, sit down, you have some pain right now, your back hurts you or whatever, sit down, I'm going to prepare a meal for you because I love you. She says, no, I'm going to prepare for you. Love sacrifices self for the object of one's affection. Hear what I say. Love sacrifices self. The reason we have so much conflict in society is because people love self. They focus on self. They do whatever would please them without consideration of what's going to happen to the others. If I like it, doesn't matter what the others do or say or feel. I just have to like it. But when people are selfless, love sacrifices self for the object of one's affection. And so let me give you an example. Let's just pretend that you are broke. You just lost your job. And let's suppose that not only that you lost your job and have no salary for the last 4 months, but you didn't pay your credit card, you didn't pay electricity, you didn't pay gas, you didn't pay your internet, you didn't pay your cell phone, you didn't pay any of the bills, and you have a bunch of bills that came in the mail, and the pile is so big, and you do the math, and you need so much money, and you don't even have money for food. Above all, your car just broke, and you don't have money to fix the car, and you cannot drive because your car is broken. You cannot even go job hunting because you don't have a car. Above all, you got a note from the bank that you will be foreclosed 2 months from now because you didn't pay mortgage. And you owe to the house 400,000, let's say. And you owe to the credit card 30,000. And you have 3 credit cards that each one of them, one is 30, one is 10 or whatever. And then you owe for a school loan. You have school loans and you own another 60,000. And then you owe your car to buy a new car would be another, I don't know, 40,000 or 50,000, depends on the car you get. And then basically, if you put it all together, probably it's 600,000-700,000, and you have no job. Meanwhile, you need to eat and you have no food. And you know, when you go shopping right now, you don't spend $20, you spend $200 to fill the cart. So you don't have money for food, and you are hungry, and you are depressed, and you are hopeless, and you are desperate. And let's suppose that your next door neighbor is Bill Gates or Jeff Bezos, I don't know who, Somebody who is a multi-millionaire, actually a billionaire. He has many, many billion dollars. I mean, he is rich. And let's suppose you just got snow. It snowed last night. So you go to the neighbor and you are desperate. You are absolutely desperate. And you say, listen, I am desperate. And I want you to think about it. I want you to literally put yourself in that situation. If that happened to you, what would you do? I mean, would you get stressed? Would you get sick? Would you pray and nothing happens, and you pray for 2 months and nothing happens, you pray for 3 months and no job, and you get to the point that you are at the limit, you have no hope. So you go to the neighbor and you say, I am desperate. I have no money. I have debt. I'm losing my house. I lost my car. I don't have electricity. I cannot heat the house. I don't have food for my family. I have 2 children. Please give me some work. And the neighbor, Bill Gates, says, listen, how much do you owe? Say all together, almost $700,000. $700,000, yes, the house and the car and the school loan and credit cards and utilities and all the bills and and this and that, not to mention food. 700,000, yes. And you want to work? Yes, to pay my debt. And he shakes his head and he says, doesn't matter how much you work. You cannot pay it off, because if you work, you can hardly provide for food or for the monthly utilities. But moreover, to pay the debt from behind, not to mention the interest on the credit cards and so on. You say, please, just give me some works. I need to do something in order to pay my debt. I need to do something to save myself. I need to do something. He says, well, we had snow last night. I'm going to pay you $20 an hour. Is that a good payment or a bad payment? It's okay. I'm going to pay you $20 an hour that you shovel my driveway. Okay, you are happy, you got work, you are going to do something for him. And so you go and you shovel the driveway. And you work 2 hours. And you get back pain and your hands hurt. And after 2 hours of hard work, you go to him. And he pays you $40. Now my question is that works or grace? It's obviously it works. You worked for it and you got paid. Okay, you worked 2 hours. You got paid $40. Does it pay your debt? Does it save you? Not a chance. You go next day, you say, please give me more work, please. He said, well, you didn't have snow last night. I have no work for you. Please just find some work. I need to do something in order to pay my debt. He says, you don't understand business, my friend. Doesn't matter how hard you work. With your qualifications on $20 an hour, it's going to take you 200 lives, and you'll never pay your debt because you still have to eat. Please, you don't understand. I have so much debt and so many problems. Give me some work. He says, okay, you can dust my kitchen. My kitchen is clean. I have a lady that is paid to clean it, but nevertheless, you can look around. You look around, the kitchen is spotless. You work 5 minutes. 5 minutes. And after 5 minutes, you say, I finished everything. He says, okay, 5 minutes, I guess, would be 20 an hour. I guess maybe it would be $5 or $3. I'm going to give you $100. Wow! Is that grace or works? What do you think? Well, that's what we do. We say it's grace. God does a lot, and I do a little. I worked for $5 and he gave me $100. God gave me a grace, a gift for $95, and I did something too. I worked for $5. I did this and that for God and for the church, and I returned tithe and I kept Sabbath. You don't do that for God. If you keep the commandments, you do them for you. If you keep Sabbath, you do it for you. If you return tithe, you do it for you. You are looking for a blessing. If you eat healthy, you do it for you. If you keep Sabbath, it doesn't make God richer or poorer, it doesn't help God, doesn't give him more power or less power. It does. You do that for yourself. Obedience is for you. When you tell your kids to learn in school, to get a good job and get a future and education, they don't do it for you. Sure, they make you happy if they get a future and a good education and a good job, but they do it for themselves. And so, We say, oh, God does a lot, and I do a little. Okay, so you worked for $5 and he paid you $100. Is that gift, grace, or works? It's a mixture as we try to understand salvation by mixing what we do with what God does. Does it pay your debt? Does it solve your problem? Absolutely not. Next day you go back and you say, listen, you gave me 100, but I could not pay any debt. I could not even pay the telephone bill. All I did, I got some food for my family because my kids are so hungry. Please give me more work so I can solve my problem and pay my debt. And he said, you don't get it. Regardless how much you work, it will never be enough if you live 100 lives to pay your debt. You can hardly survive from day to day. You cannot pay your debt. Stop asking for works in order to pay your debt. And he says, sit down. You say, why? I need to do something. I need to do in order to help myself. Sit down. Let's talk together. I don't have time to talk. Let's know each other. Let's have a relationship. We are neighbors for so many years and we don't know each other. Let me tell you my life. And he starts telling you his life and he talks for 2 hours and tells you all his big stories. And you hear and you say, man, I never knew that. I never knew that you were broke and you started small and you grew and now you are a multi-billionaire. I never knew that. And I like your story and I like you now. I was upset with you. Why do you have so much money? But now I like you, man. And he says, now tell me your story. And you spend 2-3 hours and you tell him your story. He says, oh, I never knew that about you. And that's part of your life. I like you too. And he says, since we have a relationship now and we are friends, I'm going to do something for you that you can never do for yourself. He takes his checkbook and he writes down a gift. And he says, I have billions. I'm going to give you $500 million. Are you happy with that? And you look puzzled. It's like, is he talking Chinese or is he real or he's making fun of me? Is he joking? And he says, you don't seem to be happy. Okay, 500 probably is not enough for you. I'm going to give you $800 million. Are you happy now? You say, are you kidding me? $800 million? He says, yes. You say, come on, man, don't make fun of me. I'm so hungry. Is that don't talk about things that you don't do. He says, I'm actually planning to do it because we have a relationship, and because I know you cannot save yourself, you cannot pay for your debt. Because I know you and I like you and I love you now, I'm going to give you a gift. And he writes down $800 million check. And you take the check and you look to the check on the face, on the back. And you look carefully. Is this real? And you don't enjoy it because you are unable to understand the value of it. You have never had in your hand 1 million, moreover 800. You have never had in your hand 100,000, moreover $800 million. I mean, you could live forever. You, your children, your grandchildren, without working. You could live only from the interest without touching the money. In fact, the money would keep adding because of the interest. And you put your head in your hands and you say, man, you cannot wrap your mind around it. You say, 800 million? You say, is it real? Yes. Don't you trust in me? Well, it's too much to be real. What do you want me to do for it? And he shakes his head and says, what can you do for it? Can you work to ever pay it? Well, I guess not in eternity. Even if I live forever, I cannot. What I make, my salary, I can hardly survive from month to month, moreover, to get so much money. And you say, wow, this is amazing. And so you run to the bank before he will change his mind. And you run to the bank and show them the check and say, please check it. I hope it's not fake. And they check the check and they check his bank account. They say, it's real, it's covered. He has this money. Please, transfer them from his account in my account before he may change his mind. And they transfer the money. And then you go online and you check. And you have in your bank account $800 million. And you go crazy. You start screaming. And they in the bank, calm down. We have people here. Calm. And you lose your mind. You start screaming and you call your wife. And she says, come on, honey, don't make fun. Honey, go online. And she goes online and she checks. Oh! And she calls the kids and she calls the sister and she calls everybody. And you just lose it. $800 million is going to change my life. Then you go back to him and you say, man, there is nothing I can do to pay it back. There is nothing I can do for you. You don't need anything, obviously. You have people pay to cook, you have people pay to clean. There is nothing I can do for you. I can shovel your driveway, but that's nothing. It's a drop in the bucket compared to $800 million. Are you kidding me? There is nothing I can do for you. Even if I thank you forever, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, forever, I still cannot pay back. I would love to do something. You saved me. You changed, not only that you paid my debt, but you changed my life. I don't know what to do for you. You know, I appreciate it so much. What you have done for me, I love you so much. I would like to help you around the house, to dig your garden, to shine your shoes. And that's not a chore. I mean, for what you have done for me, I will do it joyfully, not for a payment. You already paid me more than I can dream or pay forever. I would like just to do it because I appreciate you and I love you. Let me do something. Let me prune your trees. Let me plant you. Let me help around. And he says, oh, I don't need it, but if you want to do it, let's do it together. Right? That's okay. Just to be together and have fun. You understand where works come into the picture. You don't work to pay your debt. You don't work to earn heaven. You don't work to be saved. You cannot do that. But when you understand how much God has done, is doing, and will do for you, you are so overwhelmed that you start screaming and lose your mind. People that don't jump up and down and scream and dance, holy dance and whistle and sing, they have never understood how much God has done for them. People who don't enjoy serving and sacrificing for God, they have never grasped how much God has done for them. Paul says, for me to live is Christ, I live for him. To die, it's a privilege. He died for me, I die for him. Not grudgingly, but joyfully. For me to give some offerings, that's a privilege. I mean, how can I ever give as much as he has given me? It's nothing compared to his sacrifice. My sacrifice is not even worth to talk about. I mean, for me, oh Lord, let me do something. I know that is just a drop, but compared to 800 million, the fact that I shine your shoes, $7, that's nothing. People that understand the value of God's love and grace and forgiveness and sacrifice and salvation and eternity. People who behold, comprehend a drop of it. People who contemplate and think about it. They do works not to be saved, but because they are thankful that they are saved. They don't do works to pay for it. They do works because they appreciate it, and they do it joyfully based on love. Motivation is not to save yourself, but motivation is love. You have done so much for me. I really love you so much, and I would really love to serve you, not to pay my debt, but to show my thankfulness. You see, you don't make apples to deserve to be an apple tree. You need to be an apple tree, and as a natural result, you make apples. You don't do good deeds to be a Christian. You need to be a Christian, born again. Christ needs to live in you, saved. And as a natural result, you bear fruit. You don't make effort to light. You need to be filled with Christ, and Christ in you would light, would shine. We need to get the right order in our mind. Good deeds have their place. They are the proof. Works, fruits, they are the proof that we are saved, that Christ lives in us. You can try forever to bear fruits. Before Christ lives in you, you will never manage. You can make efforts. I'm trying really hard. You will never light. Before Christ moves in you, when Christ moves in you, you don't need to make any effort. Naturally, his presence and love in you would shine without you even realizing. And people would see that. Basically, the fight that we have is not necessarily to change our heart, though we should desire a new heart. But the fight that we have is to know God, to reflect on his character, to understand his love. Because the more, the deeper we understand, the more we understand that love, the more overwhelmed we are, the more we are filled with his love and his presence, the more we love him. And when we love him, we desire him. And when we are filled with his presence and love him and understand that, good deeds follow naturally. And that's the proof, the test that we have been filled with God's presence. Deeds are not to be saved, but the proof that God lives in you. If you don't have those deeds, it means that you may want God, but you still don't have God. You may have a theory of religion, a mere profession, a belonging to the church books, but you have never been filled with His presence. Therefore, our main goal should be His presence continually. Therefore, Jesus says, abide in me. Without me, you can do nothing. Stop trying to do. Start trying to abide. You see, God's grace is something that people don't grasp, including Christians. And God's grace is the single point in life, the single subject that can change character, change heart, change mind, transform, give peace, give victory, give power, give joy, salvation. God's grace, fully understood, would change not your life alone and save you, but people that you get in contact with, people that you interact with, people around you. God's grace has the power not only to change you, but to make you an aroma for life for those around you. Imagine if Christians would reflect more and talk more and show more that type of love. How churches would be. What an influence, what an attractive message would be. I want to, as you read God's promise, I want to read the quotation. As you read God's promises, remember they are an expression of unmeasurable love and pity. The great heart of infinite love is drawn towards sinners with boundless compassion. Yes, believe that God is your helper. He wants to restore His image in you. And as you draw near to Him with confession and repentance, He will draw near to you with mercy, forgiveness, and a new life. God, when He draws near to you, He brings not only forgiveness, but He brings a new life that you can never do for yourself. As you read, it says in quotation, Steps to Christ, page 55. As you read God's promises, and you reflect on them, and you contemplate and meditate and think about it and digest it. Don't just read to do your duty. Oh, I read 3 chapters today, I did my duty, and you remember nothing and it helps you for nothing. It's just to put your conscience to sleep. Hey, I did my duty, I said my prayer, I read 3 chapters and I did this for the church. Don't do just routine duty, cold set of forms. It doesn't help you to read if you don't digest. Chew it. As you read God's promise and you think about it, and you read about His sacrifice and you think about it, and you read about His forgiveness and His salvation and you think about it, the deeper you dig in this infinite fountain, infinite treasure, the deeper you dig, the more you understand His unmeasurable love. The more you understand that, the more your heart is drawn toward God, and He shows you compassion. When you see that, basically, that He wants to restore you, and He forgives you, and He helps you, and He changes you, and He works for you, when you understand more and more, as you draw near to Him and seek Him, He will draw near to you with mercy, forgiveness, and a new life. It is so simple. We read these paragraphs, but we need to understand them. I want to express something that is extremely clear. Abraham believed, and it says there in Hebrew that it was considered to him as righteousness. But in translation, actually, it goes deeper than that. It says Abraham believed, and in that moment, in that instant, in that second, it says in translation, God considered him as righteous as God Himself. Think about it. When you believe God's word, in that moment, God takes your sinful robe, your coat, dirty, all that you have done, and put it on Jesus, that never did it, and takes Jesus' perfect, divine robe, white as snow, divine, infinite perfection and holiness and righteousness, spotless, godly, divine, God's righteousness, and put it on you, as you never sinned. And God considers you in that moment as righteous as God himself. If you understand that, you cannot help but love God and be thankful and say, Lord, to do this for you and for the church is nothing. When I think about what you have done and what you do and what you will do for me, heaven, come on, this is nothing. I joyfully do it, come on, I will do even more. Only people that understand that are the people that joyfully serve, and they don't consider it a sacrifice, but they consider it a privilege. They give joyfully, not grudgingly, they help joyfully, they serve joyfully, and they are happy. And for them to bless others, it's a blessing and a privilege. And the more they serve and bless, the happier they are and the more peace they have. The more they become like Jesus, reflecting his character to others around. Those people that are filled with God's love, they share God's love. If you don't love, it says in 1 John chapter 4 and 5, if you don't love, you are a liar, you are not a Christian, and God's love is not in you. You may say that you love God, but if you don't love your neighbor, if you don't show that type of compassion, it means God never lived in you. I want to give you a story to exemplify how grace functions in our private life, a real story, and probably we finish for today. I read a book, and you can find the story on the internet, about a soldier from Vietnam. His name is Dave Rover, and I don't remember all the details, but I'm going to give you the big picture of the story. He was in Vietnam, and he was the lieutenant, the responsible one over a group of soldiers. I don't remember the number, 20, 25, like a small company, a small group of soldiers. And they got an impossible mission. There was a location, a base for the enemy, where nobody could get, because there was no road. You would have to go up the river. But there were so many left and right the river shooting that nobody would have a chance to get to that base. He was given that suicide, the impossible mission. So he took a boat without power, without an engine, and slowly, quietly, in the night, in darkness, nobody talking, they slowly went up the river. But at a certain point, one of them, with the paddle, made too much noise in the water. And the enemy put a light and saw them and threw a phosphorus grenade in their boat. Now, I've been in the army and I understand a little of what it means. You may not know, I'm going to explain shortly. A phosphorus grenade, it's extremely dangerous. Basically, whatever the phosphorus would touch in contact with oxygen is going to burn to the point of complete, it's going to burn to the point of until it consumes everything down to nothing. And you cannot put the fire up. You cannot stop the fire. As long as there is oxygen around, the fire will keep burning. When Dave saw the grenade in the boat, he knew that all the soldiers, 20, 25, how many they were, they will die. So he took the grenade to save his team. He wanted to throw it in the water, but the grenade exploded in his hand. As the grenade exploded, it took his hand off, the right side of his head off. It took his right leg off. It took part of his body off to the point that you could see ribs. And he was sprayed with phosphorus, so he started to burn. They pushed him in the water so the fire would stop, but he would have to breathe. So as soon as he came above the water to get oxygen, as soon as there was oxygen together with the phosphorus on his face, he started to burn again. So they pushed him back, but he could not breathe, he had no more air. So he got again above the water, and he started to burn again, to the point that his face was totally disfigured. There was no way to recognize him. They covered him with a blanket to stop the fire, but opened around the mouth and nose so he could breathe. As soon as there was oxygen, his nose and mouth started to burn. They covered him back, made a hole, and put a straw so he could breathe to the straw. And there would be no oxygen on his face or body, so the fire would stop. They took him to hospital. He was in coma. He was in 6 months spending time in hospital. Several surgeries. They put a prosthetic leg, they put a prosthetic hand. They covered him here somehow, and put a bag, a plastic bag that the food would go from his throat into the plastic bag because he had no stomach. They put a glass eye, a plastic ear, and covered this hole with the plastic part of a nose to cover this. And they put plastic here to cover the empty part of his cheek. It took 6 months to save him and try to make him back, but he looked terrible. And if you take off the plastic and the prosthetics, you would get scared and run. When he woke up from the last surgery, he said to the doctor, "Give me a mirror, I need to see myself." And the nurse answered and said, "You really don't want that. Please don't look in the mirror because you will get discouraged, you will get scared." He said, "Give me a mirror." He was a soldier, he was rough. He took the mirror. When he saw himself, he said, "I don't want to live this way. I am good for nothing. I can do nothing. There is nothing I can do to change my life. There is nothing I can do to have a future. I don't have a reason to live. My life is over. Nobody's gonna love me this way. People are gonna run from me when they see me. Why didn't you let me die? I have no future. I have no hope. I have no way to save myself or to change myself. Why don't you let me die?" And the nurse said, "God loves you." "I don't need that theory. I don't need that sermon. It's hopeless. It's just words. Nobody can help me. Nobody can give me a future. Nobody can give me a life. Nobody can love me this way." That day, the next bed soldier that missed only one leg, his wife came to see him. When she saw him without a leg, she took the ring and said, "I'm going to divorce you. I don't need to live with you this way." And Dave Rover thought, if she left him for missing one leg, imagine my wife when she sees me. And he said, "I am hopeless." So he pulled the life support tube because he wanted to kill himself. He says, "I have no hope. There is no way that I can save myself or change myself. There is no way that I can have a future or a life. There is no way that somebody can love me the way I am. I'm nothing. I deserve nothing. I can change nothing." Next day, he's still alive. The nurse comes and the nurse is trying to see what he needs. And he says, "Why don't I die?" And she says, "You passed the surgery, you'll recover." No, I'm supposed to die." She says, "Why do you say that?" "Well, I pulled the life support and I'm still alive." He says, "You pulled the feeding tube, you pulled the wrong tube. You just go hungry, you don't die." He got so angry, he pulled the other tube and he was still functioning. She says, "God has a plan for you still." "What plan? Look at me. Would you live with me?" She says, while people don't understand God's love and ways to save is above human understanding and God's grace. He says, there is no grace, there is no love, there is no hope. 2 hours later, his wife came to see him. He covered himself with a blanket. He says, "Dave, I want to see you." "I look ugly." She says, "You never look good to begin with. When I married you, I didn't marry you for your good looks. I married you for your heart. And for what you did for your soldiers, to try to save them and sacrifice self. It tells me what type of heart you have. I'm not married with you because you look good, honey. I'm married with you because you have a wonderful heart. I want to see you." And she pulled the blanket and she sees him without plastic, without the glass, without the plastic, and she sees him and she gets down to him and she gives him a hug and she kisses him and says, "Honey, you have the biggest heart anybody can have. I love you more than ever. Don't worry, we'll put the plastic, we'll do these things, but that's for people, not for me. Come home. I want you back home." He says in his book, in that moment, he understood how grace works. You don't receive grace because you deserve it or because you can change it or because you look good or because you do something. In spite of yourself, you receive grace because somebody loves you. And that love gets your heart to the point that you love them back in a way that cannot be expressed in words. He said to her, "Honey, I love you too more than I can ever say. Whatever I will do for you will never pay your love for me." And he says, "Now I understand what grace means. Through your love for me, I understand the drop of God's love. I am curious what plan God may have for me, but I do trust that He loves me enough to show me." Later, he was asked to talk to people about grace. How do you understand grace? And he talked to a crowd and he explained how his wife treated him when he looked like a monster. And he said, that's how God's grace looks to you, the way my wife treated me. And then they called him more and more and more to give presentations, to the point that he was speaking all over, invited all over, doing conferences on grace and love and compassion when people don't deserve it. Not to love those who love you, but to love those that hate you. To show them grace when they don't deserve it, the way God shows you grace when you don't deserve it. And the way to do it is to be touched by that love. Only then you can touch others with that divine love. That love has to move in you for you to share it. One time he was preaching to a big crowd and his plastic ear came off and everybody, oh! And he put the ear back and everybody was saved. We need to understand. We need to understand. God called you not to deserve heaven, though we should live a good life, though we should obey. But God called you to experience God's presence in a real way, because that's what's going to really transform you. There is no human effort. There is nothing that you do, regardless how hard you try, that will be able to change your heart. It may change your external behavior a little, but you still get angry inside, you still eventually explode. There is nothing you can do to save yourself. But when God's presence moves in you, the more you experience Him, the more you understand His grace, the more you understand what He has done, the more you understand how He works, the more you understand what He will do for you, the more touched, the more transformed you are, the more you love, and the easier it is to serve and to love and to bless. Therefore, our prayers most of the time should not be solve this, give me this, though there is nothing wrong to ask God for help. But our most important prayer should be, Lord, I want to know you. I want to understand how you work. I want to see your face. I want to know your name. I want to understand your character. I want to understand your sacrifice. I want to understand your salvation. I want to understand heaven. Would you please, Lord, help me know you? I want to know you more than life, Lord. I do have problems, and I wish you would solve them, but I know you love me, and I trust in you. So I'm going to give it to you and let you take care of those things, and I'm going to spend my energy not dealing with problems, but trying to know you, because life eternal is to know God. People in the Bible, they had a personal knowledge of God, and that gave them the stories that we read in the Bible. Our most important prayer should be, our most important desire should be, our goal in life should be one and only one. I want to know you, Lord. And the more you seek Him, He promised, if you seek Him with all your heart, continually, He's going to show Himself. He's going to let Himself be found. If you draw near to Him, He'll draw near to you. The more you seek Him, the more you understand Him. The more you understand Him, the more you love Him. The more you love Him, the more you know Him. The more you are filled with His love, the easier it is for you, in a natural way, to show love and patience and compassion and mercy. And that's what Christians do. Now, saying that, people say, I tried that, pastor, and it doesn't work. And I ask them, how long have you tried? 2 weeks. That's not an event that takes like we have these conferences that is going to last. We have this evangelism. We have this process that's going to last a month. This is a lifelong process. As children need to keep growing, so our knowledge of God needs to keep growing. Therefore, this is a lifelong process. It's not enough to see God for a week and then, hey, He didn't show Himself to me, I give up. Satan wants you to give up. You need to seek God as long as you live, every day, every moment of your life. You need to seek a knowledge of God. You need to seek God's presence. You need to seek God's abiding in you every day of your life, because this is a lifelong process. And the more you seek God and the more you know Him, the more you become like Him, the more you are transformed into His image. In that process, regardless where you are, as I said before, in the beginning, in the middle, at the end of the process, when you keep seeking Him and being filled daily with His presence, you have peace and you are saved. And the closer you are to Him, the more He can use you. Let's pray together. Father in heaven, oh, what a grace, amazing grace, what a love, infinite love. So deep that we cannot go under it, so tall that we cannot go over it. so wide that we cannot go around it, greater than the earth, greater than the universe. And how little we understand. If we could open our eyes for a second and grasp a drop of your love, we would be happy, have peace, and trust you in the midst of challenges. If we would focus on your love instead of focusing on self, we would have peace and joy and faith. Angels that see you working, angels that see you, they wonder, why don't we trust in you? Lord, we have so many problems and so much stress because we don't know you, because we don't understand you. Please help us seek you more than anything else. Help us desire to know you. Help us thirst for you as a deer is thirsty for water. Help us want you more than food, more than water, more than air. Help us want you more than anything else. Help us to get closer and closer to you, know you, love you, and be filled with your presence to the point that we reflect your love and character to people around. We pray in Jesus' name. Help us to pray this prayer daily. Thank you, Lord, for answering. We love you and we praise you. Amen.